Happy Thursday, everybody. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've read last, and it's just been crazy, and so I'm sorry. It took me a while to get back to you for reading, but I am back now, and we are ready to roll and see what happens next. I did want to show you my hoodie first. I don't think I wore it to school at all, but I gotta show you. It is like the coolest thing, at least for me. So I have the Hey Arnold characters. I have the Ren and Stimpy characters. And then on the bottom, I have the characters from Rugrats. So these characters were like cartoons when I was your age. The best cartoons ever. And I guarantee your parents probably remember these characters. They're pretty awesome. I was pretty darn excited. And this hoodie was only $7 on sale. Love it. Anyways, let's get started. Woohoo! All right. So I'm actually going to go back a page because this is the start of part 4. I think I started part 4 or 5, and then I didn't. I think I only read like a page, so we're going to go back and just reread this short page here. Hello again. So, yeah, like I said, I stuck the landing. The next thing I knew, there I was, standing right in front of Dr. Grassmere. Next to him was Sergeant Kelly, and next to them, soaking wet, were the 3 shapes I'd seen from the sky. "You're Lester," I said. "My brother. And you 2 are my friends, Evan and Kiki." The 3 of them looked at me, blinking. Finally, Lester said, "That's right, we are. Remember I told you zombies can't cry? That doesn't mean that we can't be incredibly moved by the generosity and courage of our friends and family." "Did you come here for me?" "Yes," Evan said, his voice choking a little bit. "And we're so glad you're okay." Kiki's eyes were shining. "Can I tell you something? It was Sarah Ann's idea." I nodded. "That I can believe." There's a picture. A full-page picture. Lester has this word he loves to use, chill. I think it means you look like you don't really care about anything. And at that moment, he was definitely trying to look chill. "So, yeah," Lester said. "We just thought, that we'd come here and take you home. We didn't realize that you'd be like hanging at the top of a giant tree when we got here." "That was strange and unusual," I said, "even for me." Before we could get any further in the conversation, though, Dr. Grassmere stepped between us. He turned to my 3 rescuers. "I hope you realize that what you've done is a federal crime. You all could be in deep, deep trouble." I pulled on Dr. Grassmere's arms. "Please don't do anything to them." "That's yet to be decided," he signaled to all the soldiers. "I need everyone to return to their stations immediately." But no one moved. "Did you not hear me?" Dr. Grassmere said, his voice sounding strained. "Please get in your vehicles and go." But still, not a soul budged. I saw a bead of sweat pop out on Dr. Grassmere's forehead. "I don't understand. Am I speaking a foreign language?" At that, Sergeant Kelly stepped up. "No, sir, you are not. But we have received orders from another party to stay put." Dr. Grassmere's face darkened in confusion. "Another party? And who might that be?" Right at that moment, a giant SUV rolled up next to us, and Regional Commander Jensen got out. Next to him was a man I recognized, with sudden shock, as Evan's father, former Regional Commander Horace Brantley. Evan's eyes went buggy. "Dad? What? Where? How did you find me?" "I told you I would take care of it," Mr. Brantley told his son. His voice was stern, but his eyes were kind. "However, it appears you have the same desire to get things done as I do." Evan beamed proudly. "We'll discuss it further when we get home," Mr. Brantley said, and Evan's beam dimmed a bit. Regional Commander Jensen glared at Dr. Grassmere, who stepped back meekly. "I'll take it from here," said Commander Jensen. He turned to me. "Son, it's come to my attention that you were returned here under false pretenses." "False what?" Evan whispered. "Someone lied," Kiki whispered back. Commander Jensen turned back to Dr. Grassmere. "I'm not sure if you're aware, but Colonel Brantley and I have worked together for many years in various capacities. He was my mentor, my boss and we have a great deal of trust between each other. So when he came to me and explained the situation, I could not let it stand. His eyes bored in on Dr. Grasmere. Is it true? Did you tell the Kinder family that you were bringing the subject back here simply to have him train other subjects for integration into society? Dr. Grasmere's eyes fell in shame. It was the only way to ensure the subject's return, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He wanted me to spy on the Kinders, I blurted out. Dr. Grasmere went white, and I realized that Commander Jensen didn't know about that part. Dr. Grasmere was doing that part on his own. The commander's eyes narrowed. I see. It was in the early stages, stammered Dr. Grasmere. As soon as we were confident in our progress, you would have been informed immediately. Enough! Barked the commander. He glanced around and spoke loudly enough so that all could hear. Our work here is important. Very important. But not so important that we do it under duplicitous circumstances. Duplicitous? Evan whispered. Beats me, Kiki answered back. Dr. Grasmere, you are relieved of your duties, effective immediately. Oh, he got fired. Dr. Grasmere looked stricken. But immediately, pronounced Commander Jensen in a tone of voice that made Dr. Grasmere realize he'd better keep his mouth shut before any more bad news came his way. Still, he couldn't help but mutter. It was the only way. Commander Jensen looked at me again. As for the rest of us, let's return to the orientation building to meet Dr. and Mr. Kinder. They will be here in a few minutes and we can all discuss the next steps. The commander turned to Kiki. Your parents have also been notified. Kiki looked calm. I'm not worried. My parents knew exactly what I was doing, she said. I stared at her, shocked. Really? She winked at me. Of course not. Ooh, guys, we're so close. Look at that. Ooh, just a few pages. Goodbye for now. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in a conference room when my parents walked in. At least I hope they were still my parents. In any event, I'm going to start calling them Mom and Dad again. My mom ran over to me and wrapped me up in her arms that were warm. Oh, Arnold! Oh, Arnold! She said that at least 6 times. Then she moved on to, are you okay? Which she said around 3 times. I'm fine, I said twice. My dad was quiet, but the power of his hug said more than 1,000 words could have. Commander Jensen stood up. There is no real need to go over all the details of what happened right now. There will be plenty of time for that later. What is important is for you to know that everyone is safe, he continued. Norbus has expressed his desire to return to your care, and we have decided to grant him his permission to do so. He gets to go home. Lester leaned over and high-fived me, which hurt a tiny bit. My mom looked like she'd seen a ghost. The friendly kind. Really? Evan's dad smiled. Yes, really. Yay! I'm afraid that certain representatives of the government have not been totally honest with you, or me, for that matter, said the commander. Yes, we wanted Norbus returned to campus. We have been retraining our afterlives to serve our society in a military capacity, and to be frank, we had concerns that exposure to society would render that impossible. We needed to study Norbus to learn more. We were not convinced that any reanimation subject could survive and thrive after exposure to human contact. Oh. He paused to take a sip of water. Our team has done a great deal of work, and we have studied Arnold a great deal. We put him in some adversarial positions and challenged him in many ways. We even tried to realign his loyalties, which briefly yielded results. He opened a folder but his was yellow, not red. In fact, you will recall that after one round of extensive memory realignment, he re-announced his desire to return to human society and expressed a wish to stay here. Of course I recall, said my mother with a hint of bitterness in her voice. Commander Jensen went on. I know that was hard for you, but you will be pleased to know that those feelings didn't last. But for the first time ever, a reanimation subject was able to withstand our cerebral stress tests. Kiki raised her hand. Is that just another way of saying brainwashing? The commander raised his eyebrows at her, but did not respond to her directly. As I was saying, for the first time ever, a reanimation subject was able to withstand our cerebral stress tests and, well, and think for himself, which is in itself a major breakthrough for our program. My mom frowned. What does that mean? It means that we've learned one very important piece of information. Instead of our subjects not being able to survive after being exposed to regular society, they in fact thrive under those conditions. Dr. Grassmere wanted to use that information for nefarious purposes, but that plan stops here. Nefarious? Whispered Kiki. No clue, she whispered back. Commander Jensen looked at my parents kindly. Doctor and Mr. Kinder, you are getting your wish. Arnold may return to your family, and Project Z as we know it will cease to exist. Yay! He paused, took a deep breath, and closed his folder. And it is time to announce our findings to the public. We will continue to work with our other subjects here at Government Territory 278 in hopes that they, too, may someday become candidates for integration into society, provided they can be placed with families as loving as yours, of course. My parents sat back in their chairs with looks of great relief washing their faces. As for myself, though, I had a single concern. So Azalea will be staying here? Yes, she will, said Commander Jensen. She is a member of the community. The only one who gets to leave right now is you. I see. I stood up from my chair. May I say goodbye to her? Commander Jensen shook his head. I'm sorry, I don't think that's best. All the subjects have been returned to their pods resting before today's activities. There has been enough commotion for one day. I hesitated, trying to decide what to do. Mom, may I borrow your phone? She looked confused for a second, but handed me her phone. And then for the second time in my 12 hours, I ran. I ran all the way back to my pod, followed by Commander Jensen and Colonel Brantley, my parents, my brother, Evan and Kiki, Sergeant Kelly, and about 5 other staff members, but I didn't care. When I got to the pod, Burstus, Frumpus, and Azalea were lying down on their benches. They all immediately stood up. Hey, I said. I just wanted to say goodbye, for now. Azalea looked at me sadly. In a month you won't remember me, she said. You won't remember any of this, and neither will I. I shook my head. We will. This time, we will. I took out the phone and handed it to Evan. Will you take a picture of us, please? I went and stood next to Azalea as he took the picture. Then I hugged Azalea. It was great getting to know you, and I'll see you out there before you know it. Do you really think so? I know so. Azalea smiled. Good. Woo! I hugged Burstus and Frumpus goodbye, then turned to go. At the pod door, I turned back. Someone once said a really smart thing to me. Do you guys want to hear it? They all peered up at me. Well, of course we do, said Burstus. I smiled. Zombies are people too. Aw, cute. They're hugging. One last shock. I think it's the last chapter. Is it? Let's look. Oh, it's the last chapter. Oh my goodness. One last shock. First we met Simon at his van and picked up Darlene and Sarah Ann, who wanted to come with us. Then we all piled into my parents' truck, the very same truck that had rescued me all those months ago and drove me home. It was loud. I told them everything about the buzzing sounds and the red lights, about the strength pill, about the time Dr. Grassmere tried to get me to salt melt my friend Azalea, and all the other ways they tried to turn me back into a zombie. And then Kiki, Evan, and Lester told me about all the wanting to come rescue me, and Sarah Ann coming up with this amazing plan and not telling their parents, and getting up at 4 a.m. and swimming across the river and not believing their eyes when they saw me at the top of that tree. Believe it or not, it all sounded pretty hilarious when you thought about it. Sarah Ann was quite quiet the whole way, mostly looking out the window. I'm not sure she liked a lot of noise or commotion. At the end of the ride, I turned to her. Are you okay? I asked. She nodded and reached for her board at last. I'm glad you're back, she said. 2 days later, I went back to school. The morning was fun. Mrs. Huggle hugged me. Nurse Raposo made sure I was okay. Coach Hank yelled at me, and 4 kids asked me for help with their homework. It was pretty much business as usual. Then came lunch. I had my bowl of jelly beans and was looking for a seat when Ross Klepsaw and Brett Dorfman corralled me by the arm and steered me toward their table. How was it? Ross said. Were you, back with all the other freakos? It was intense, I told them. There was some brains eating and some eye gouging and a lot of dancing. Ross and Brett squinted their eyes for a second, actually considering whether I was telling the truth or not, before Brett smacked me on the back. Ha! That is so not what happened, he yelped. Okay, fine, I said. But what really happened is a government secret, and if I told you, I'd have to put you in jail for treason. Whoa, Brett said. His eyes were getting wide. That'd be bad. Forget it, man. Ross gave me a conspiratorial tug on my sleeve. So can we, get back to that thing I was telling you about? What thing is that? Ross looked crushed. Come on, you remember. I didn't have the energy to explain how all my memories were a little frazzled at the moment, so I said, Oh, right. So what's your advice? What's the best way to get Kiki to like me? How do you do it? All right. Some tiny corner of my brain remembered that he'd asked me that, but it seemed like a lifetime ago. In any event, I had an easy answer to his last question. Act more like a freako, I said. After a few more minutes, I extracted myself from Ross and Brett and joined Kiki, Evan, and Sarah Ann at a table in the corner. They were eating quietly, almost like all excitement of the last week had drained their energy. I couldn't blame them. Hey, guys, I said. No one said anything, which was a little weird, no matter how exhausted they were. Something was up. What? I said. What's going on? Is something wrong? Something's very wrong, Evan said. Kiki just gave us some horrible news. Oh no, I said. I couldn't believe it. After all we'd been through, all the craziness and the courage and chaos, something was wrong. I had visions of everything starting all over again. Is Dr. Grassmere back? Does he want to take me away again? Is it all over? Kiki, are you in trouble for coming to rescue me? Are you moving away? What's going on? They all shook their heads. No, and nothing, Kiki said softly. But it wasn't until Sarah Ann actually smiled a little bit that I knew it wasn't anything like that. Instead, it was something even more shocking. Evan sighed heavily, like he was about to tell me the world was ending. Instead, he said, Kiki just told us that she thinks she likes Ross Klepsaw. My eyes felt like they shot out of my head. I looked over at Ross, who was still at this table, happily snorting a piece of spaghetti through his nose. Ew. Are you serious? I said to Kiki. You actually like him? Kiki shrugged. Yeah, she said, sounding slightly embarrassed. I wish I didn't, but I think I do. Isn't it awful? All I could do was shake my head. Humans are so weird. The end! Yay! Oh, so good. Oh my goodness gracious. I am so glad that he made it out. And nobody got in trouble. Dr. Grassmere got fired. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. That was good. Ooh. Well, good thing I have the other books. We can start reading the next one. And I think it's the third and last one in the series. It says Project Z, Attack of the Zombie Zing. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to be starting that tomorrow. Yay. Well, have a happy Thursday, guys. Hope you enjoyed the ending. Bye.